One of the things that gets us all immersed into the world of wargaming, role-playing games and miniature painting are the wonderfully sculpted miniatures. Today, we're listing some of my favorite rare models you wish you had in your collection. Hey friends, you're watching Squidmar Miniatures, I'm Emil. As you heard in the intro, today's episode is not about painting, it's about miniatures and rare miniatures of that. I myself was never a huge collector of rare miniatures, but I've always been fascinated by these that are released in a limited edition or was released back in a time where many people didn't play these games like Dungeons & Dragons, Warhammer 40,000 or Warhammer Fantasy Battles as it was called back in the days. And together with the help of my top patron supporter and dear friend Albin Ostrom, I've collected a bunch of miniatures that I think is really cool, but it's out of production, so it's really hard to find, and if you find it, you're going to have to pay the big bucks to get one. So stick around to the end of the video, because in the end of the video I will be giving away one of these 10 packs of brushes from Army Painter, so stick around to the end and I'll catch you in a bit. And a bit of a disclaimer before this video starts. A lot of the images I use in this video I couldn't find the original source for, and I couldn't find the original release images from Games Workshop or the other brands. So if you know who painted these miniatures or know who took the photographs, please leave a comment and link to the blogs or to the Instagram pages of those artists so I can credit the artist where credit is due. So one of my favorite armies when I used to play 20 years ago was the Chaos Dwarfs. Unfortunately, I never got to starting an army because when you're 13 years old and playing Warhammer, collecting a lot from one army is tough enough. So having two, that was just out of the question. But these fallen, chaos-worshipping versions of the long-bearded dwarven race still exists in the mortal realms under the name of Legions of Azorg. And they kind of recently started showing up in Warcry as well. But this army wasn't always a resin kit from Forgeworld. When they were still a functional army back in Warhammer Fantasy Battles, the army was pretty much exclusively made out of metal. And they never really got this plastic overhaul that a lot of the other armies got. So back in 6th edition, the Chaos Dwarfs were pretty much extinct. They were cut out from the lore and discontinued around that time. And though most of these old Chaos Dwarfs are quite expensive on eBay, one of the strangest and most mysterious models released from that range is the Chaos Dwarf Juggernaut. But this war machine or siege weapon, depending on what you want to call it, that was pulled around by a Boar Centaur is kind of odd because it was never released as a gaming piece. It was only released as a model and never got any real official rules or lore whatsoever. And it was only featured once in Citadel Miniatures catalog back in 1991 and was only for sale for a short period of time. It was really unique in its configuration as it was modifiable by adding platform levels that could be bought separately. And this gem from Citadel Miniatures history has gone both up and down in price throughout the years, but at its peak it's been sold for over $1,000 on eBay. And at times it's been a subject to recasts. Nowadays it's a little bit cheaper, and if you're lucky you can find a copy of this one for around $300. Another all-time favorite is the all-metal Thunderhawk. Before the wonderful Thunderhawk that Forgeworld sells today for a hefty $735, there used to be a Thunderhawk fully made out of metal. And this one dates all the way back to 1997. This monstrous beast contains a few kilos of the finest Games Workshop 90s metal. Games Workshop said back in 1997's Citadel Journal that this one is a to assemble. And the funny thing is, they even recommended you to be an experienced modeler and over 14 years of age. And I'm guessing that Games Workshop weren't joking, because building metal miniatures this big, can you imagine edge highlighting this one? I'm guessing it would eat your brushes faster than Donald Trump could say border wall. As you can see on the box, this one was actually cheaper than today's Thunderhawk. This one was only 649 bucks. But a fun fact, this one was originally released for 40,000 pence. And how awesome is that? 40k pence. This beauty was unfortunately only produced in a limited edition that was supplied in a numbered and velvet dressed box. And if you have one of these in your closet, you're a lucky person. And either you should hold it on to the day that you die, or you should sell it and collect a lot of cash to buy a new army, or 2, or 3. This is an expensive model. And guys, while talking of big metal miniatures, let's talk about some Dungeons and Dragons figures. The Ral Partha's limited edition box sets. Ral Partha released 5 different limited edition box sets with metal dragons that today are both expensive to get hold of, but also extremely rare on the miniature market. These are not easy to get hold of. There were only about 5 to 10,000 of these models produced and are sold today for about $100 to $300 on eBay. But some of these miniatures are so rare that I don't even think you can get hold of most of them on eBay. Don't you just get happy about names like Imperial Dragon, Golden Dragon of Chaos, Dracolich, Thakesis, Queen of Darkness, and the Great Red Dragon? All of these were released from the years 1982 to 1992. But these limited edition box sets also had sort of a black sheep, if you will. This was a box less than appropriately called Slave Auction, and I think you can guess what this box contained. And I'm guessing it's one of the miniatures from Ral Partha's history that they kind of wish they designed differently. And to be frank, it's not a box that I would be proud of having in my shelf today. But the dragons, on the other hand, look how awesome these old school designs are. The Chaos War Mammoth is one of my all-time favorite models. There's just something about that huge mammoth body with the giant tusks, and this was one of Forgeworld's biggest models for a long time. It was originally released in 2002, just around the time when I had my first long 16-year breakaway from Warhammer, and I just adored the design. And this was a huge kit made all out of resin sold by Forgeworld. And I'm kind of glad it was made out of resin, because I can't imagine building this one out of metal. The amount of green stuff, pinning, gluing, praying to chaos gods to make it stick together. This wonderful, monstrous piece that just gets my heart beating was unfortunately discontinued before I got back into Warhammer again. The funny thing is, it's still playable in Age of Sigmar. The reason for its discontinuation? It's been widely discussed on the internet, and I've seen reasons on both ends talking about how it sold poorly, and I could understand that because it was an expensive piece, and on the other hand, I heard people say that it was because the original mold broke down so they couldn't reproduce it. Either way, this is one of my all-time favorite models, and if I ever get the chance to get hold of one for a reasonable price, I will definitely nab one. The Malifaux Through the Breach Kickstarter rewards. During the 2012 Kickstarter for the Malifaux expansion Through the Breach, there were a bunch of exclusive Kickstarter rewards models that were released that are kind of hard to get hold of today. So these are becoming somewhat of a collector's item. And even though Malifaux is still a young game, some of these models are incredibly cool. Just take this Hannah Freikorps Archivist. This one have been sold for as much as $70 on eBay, and we have to remember that this is just a tiny 28mm figure for $70. How awesome is that? And while we're talking about Malifaux, let's talk about the Malifaux Miss models. These were released as special rewards and were given away at Gen Con around the 2010s. I'm not sure exactly how long they did this because I'm not a Malifaux player, but if you have more details on this, please leave the information in the comment section down below. These are female gender swap version of Malifaux models and make them kind of a fun collector's edition model. These might not be the most expensive models, but are quite rare compared to the original Malifaux sets. And these can sell anywhere from $30 to $80 for a model, which still, for being a small 28mm figure, is quite an expensive price. So if you can get a hold of one, you should get it. So we're back to Dungeons and Dragons again. The same brand, Ral Partha, did a lot of miniatures back in the 80s, and Ral Partha had his 10th anniversary set with a huge dragon. Draco Dracorum. Big metal dragon made for advanced Dungeons and Dragons, 25mm in scale and limited edition. Only 5,000 of this dragon was made worldwide, and today, well, it's a bit more expensive than it was back in the days. Released back in 1985. So we're talking about a model that's 35 years old. This dragon is wonderfully old school and the design is just awesome. Prices on eBay, well, it can go anywhere from $100 up to $1,000, depending on the price, the condition, and how the packaging is. And this dragon, well, it's just old schooly wonderful. This is one of my favorite on this list. And I just thank Albin for his awesome knowledge of these old school miniatures. So last but not least, or maybe smallest. Back in 2004, Games Workshop released, or did they really release, this cheerleader for the specialist game Blood Bowl. This is a LIZARDMEN cheerleader. I don't have much information on this one, but I think it was released as a limited edition tournament prize or a gift for Games Workshop employees or writers. I'm not entirely sure on this, but a quick Google says that the rumors are that there are only 50 copies of this model available. And a Games Workshop model that's only released in 50 copies. I think this might be one of the most unique models from Games Workshop. And if that's not rare, I have no idea what is. But if some of you out there have some insider information, maybe you know someone who works at Games Workshop or did back in the days, I would love to hear some information about this model because this is just too awesome to not know the full original story of it. And if you want to buy one, I think you're gonna have to look a long time, but it has been sold on eBay for 70 bucks, but I don't know the next time it's gonna be out for sale. So with that, guys, thanks for watching. If you like this channel, please hit the subscribe button and maybe leave a like or tell me which model I forgot. I'm sure I missed about 100 of your favorite models, so let me know which rare, unique models you want me to cover. If you guys like this one, I would love to make another one because I had so much fun doing this one, getting the information from Albin and collecting some of myself. It was just so much fun. And if you want to support this channel even more, you can hang with me and about 100 different Patreon supporters in my Patreon campaign. We have a Facebook group that is exclusive for Patreon and also Discord channel that is really active today, and it's really one of my favorite channels to chat today. We talk about miniatures and painting, about games, just anything hobby related, and it's so much fun every day. And if you have any questions about the stuff I use when I'm painting or when I'm building stuff, I have a link to my website, squidmar.com. You can find information about all the stuff I use for recording these videos, the microphones, the cameras, but also the paintbrushes, the airbrush, the paints, glues, everything I use is listed on that website. The links go to Amazon associate links, so if you purchase anything there, Amazon give me a kickback, and that's an awesome way of supporting this channel as well. So with that said, guys, check out the website, buy some merch, and have a great day. Bye. You thought I forgot about the giveaway, didn't you? Well, I didn't. And all you have to do, if you're already subscribing, is to just leave a comment so I know that you want to be part of this giveaway. You can write anything you want, give me a good reason why you want it, tell me how many cookies you ate. Any comment is fine, and just 2 weeks after this video is released, I will give away it to one random commenter, and that's about it. Have a great day, guys. Bye.